and then COVID came, and I was all like, what do I do? I can't swim at this time. So then I went straight for states in I think July of 2022, and then I went for nationals in 2023. And the thing is, I didn't even have any practice because all the pools were closed during COVID, and this was right after. So I just took a shot at it and somehow landed with a medal in states, and then I went for nationals. Parents, I would honestly just tell them that let your child figure out what they want to do on their own. I mean, if you like, I know people who were pressurized into doing something they didn't want, and the thing is, if you do that, then if the child is not actually passionate about what they want to do, they won't do well. So I'd say just take a back seat and just let them make their own mistakes and let them figure it out on their own. Because if they don't do that, I I don't know how it's gonna be for them. But for me, it would be really cagey, and I'd feel trapped. Hi, sir.
Hi, Kyra. How have you been?
Pretty good. How have you been?
Awesome. Awesome. It's so nice to catch up with you on this podcast.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you've seen my entire growth. You've seen me from being completely lost in my application process to being, all of that. And now after I finally, completed my first year as well, where, we've come back to
Yes.
talking and stuff. So I think,
Been quite right, huh?
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Um, let's get to it. Kyra, for our audience, please go ahead. Give your introduction.
Okay, so my name is Kyra Sehgal. I was in Sri Ram School. I'm from Delhi, and I'm studying at UMass Amherst, and my major is finance. So yeah.
Awesome. So, Kyra, it's been quite a brief part of your introduction. You've been through so much. We would really need to delve deeper into the entire journey, right? To begin with,
Yeah.
how exactly are you finding the difference, specifically coming from a CBSE background to a US ecosystem, US education system? What's the difference like?
See, personally for me, I was always like a very ratta type of person. I would always sit down at the last moment and cramp up the entire textbook and go and write the paper. But what the huge change was that it's not about rote learning in the US. It's about analyzing the different theories and analyzing different ways and interpreting what you're learning and then writing a paper. It's not about how much you can ratta and how well you can memorize every word and every line. I mean, obviously the keywords are there, but it's all about analysis and what you think. So, that whole shift was a little bit challenging for me. So, this first sem I did struggle a little bit in understanding that, but now I believe I have coped up pretty well. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, when you're saying that it is more about understanding, rather like to elaborate on that. So, when you're saying understanding, it's more of understanding and applying those concepts in uh, real life scenarios. Is that
Yeah,
what you mean by that?
yeah, exactly. So, like
Interesting.
for example, in economics, we were asked, we were given different theories, and then in the papers, we weren't asked, like, what did this economist say? We were asked about, we were given practical situations, and then we had to kind of figure out how it applies, what the economist said, what the theory he came up with, how does it apply in this situation? So, it's a lot about the whole thinking process and diving deep.
And how many credits did you take in your first and second semesters?
First semester, I had 16. Second, I had 15.
Wow, interesting. You took a decent load in both semesters.
Yeah, I did. I finished all my gen eds in the first year. So I'd have more time to focus on the tougher classes in the next coming years.
Interesting. And now that you are out of that, if you completed your first year, have you uh, have you thought about working somewhere? Have you thought about interning anywhere?
Yeah, so for me, like my line of interest is investment banking. Now, like, I know that being a freshman in the US, I'm not going to get any internship. So instead of, wasting the summer, I decided that I'll do an internship somewhere in Delhi, get that experience under my belt, put it on my resume, so it would kind of help me get an internship in the US next year, hopefully. So
Oh,
it's
that's awesome. That's a mm, that's quite a practical approach. Are you planning to take any summer programs?
I'm actually going to be doing some courses. There's this thing called forage experience. So it's basically these companies that give so you have these modules that you can do, and they give you real they give you these assignments that are what you'll actually be doing at a certain position in whichever field you choose. So I did the JP Morgan investment banking simulation. I'm doing a Goldman Sachs one right now. So I'm just constantly trying to one up myself. So yeah.
That's perfect. And do you get any credits for that, or it's only primarily for your resume building?
It's resume building and also experience, but I don't get any credits for it. I'll also be doing around 7 credits this summer. So that's just with my
Interesting.
university. I'll do online classes.
How many subjects are you taking? How many courses are you
I
taking in
have
summer?
two because the maximum is 8 credits. So I can only take 2 classes, but it counts towards something.
Yeah, absolutely. That you know uh, already before you're entering your sophomore, you would have more or less completed around 38, 40 credits,
Yeah.
right? So you are pretty much on the way of on the lines of wrapping up your entire undergrad in matter of 3 years. Is that what you're planning?
Yeah, it is what I'm planning, hopefully. So, I mean, I hope it pans out because I have like 18 credits in the fall semester as well. So, I'm just trying to kind of overload myself and try to graduate a year early so I can get into the industry a year early.
As early as possible. That's awesome. It's so good to here is mature things from Kyra, who delayed every single bit of her application. Not exactly delayed, but yes, could procrastinate as much as possible. Great. Now, can you please elaborate on the fact that how exactly was your journey from uh, Sriram school? Because I know that you were really occupied in Sriram. You could not actually get time to work on your applications. So, how did you figure out the process of application? How did you apply?
Okay, so at the start, I was completely clueless. I had no idea what I was gonna do, and then I started talking to you, sir, and you kind of really gave me a roadmap of what I should be doing. And with Shriram, there were like constant assignments, constant midterms, pre boards, everything. So kind of juggling that with the entire US application process, it was so difficult. And I was, sometimes I just get so overwhelmed. I'd just go and talk to my mom and be like, what am I doing with my life? I don't know if I can do this. And for me personally, I think so you really helped me through the process. I mean, I don't think I would have been able to do it without you, because I was getting so, like, every time I'd pick up a new college's essay, I'd be like, what am I supposed to write? I'd come running to you. I don't know how much I would have troubled you, sir. I would, like, text you at whatever hour at night, and I'd be like, I don't know what to do. And
We know every bit of that journey, but yes, yeah, it was. We had quite a last moment scenarios. That was interesting. If I have to keep the entire application or just the essay content part aside, you really worked on your activities also. You really worked on building up your extracurricular angle, right?
yeah.
Can you tell our audience how exactly you enjoyed that process? Because I know for a fact that you really enjoyed getting into sports. You were into tennis, I believe,
No, swimming and gymnastics.
swimming. Yes. Can you please elaborate on that?
So, actually, so I didn't really have a lot of my resume earlier on, and I was like, last moment, I was like, how do I build this up? So then I did these a couple of Google courses that were free, that supply chain management courses, social media marketing courses. I did that. Then I did some teaching. I volunteered at an Alzheimer's patient's you know a care facility. Then I was also with swimming, for example, I was always into sports. I had to leave gymnastics right before COVID, but I kind of changed my trajectory towards swimming towards the end. And then COVID came, and I was all like, what do I do? I can't swim at this time. So then I went straight for states in I think July of 2022, and then I went for nationals in 2023. Oh, sorry,
That
2022.
was a blessing in disguise in a way, right?
Yeah,
Moving from
it really
gymnastic to swimming.
was. And the thing is, I didn't even have any practice because all the pools were closed during COVID. And this was right after. So, I just took a shot at it and somehow landed with a medal in States. And then I went for nationals. So, I mean, it was great for my resume, but also, like, for me, it was such a great experience. So, I'm just really happy I got that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way I look at it, Kyra, I would definitely need to give it to you that you were really determined to make sure that your goals were achieved. Because I remember the conversations you had before you went into the tournaments and everything, and you were so occupied with the Sriram's assignments and other things also, while it was quite overwhelming for you as well.
It really was.
So definitely cannot take away your efforts and your credit and your commitment to an activity to make sure that you pulled it off.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, uh, kind of specifically, let's say majority of our audience are students and their parents, right? So, how exactly would you advise them in terms of what things they should be looking forward? Let's say there are students who are in grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, right? Early on, and their respective parents. So, what would you advise them? How exactly should they work on their profiles?
So I would say, like, as soon as you start high school, like in your early years of high school, you don't really have too much pressure. So I would say take that time to do things you're actually passionate about, and somehow try to see if it would fit into your resume and help you with your application process. So, like, be it internships, volunteering, courses, just do any of that, and try to build up your resume and try to actually figure out what you want to be doing in life. Because for me personally, like, my view of what I want to do would change every couple of months. I'd be like, oh, I want to be a lawyer. Then I completely switched to, like, I want to do psychology, and now I'm doing finance. So, I switched around a lot, and I finally found, what I want to do. So, the earlier you start, it doesn't really do you any harm. So I'd just say take some time out, try different fields, just do like, some online courses, do more research about different fields, and try to kind of zero down or narrow down on a couple of options that you actually see yourself pursuing.
Interesting. I would like to just underline few things here. Now, in spite of the fact that your profile kept on evolving, or rather your made choices of majors kept on evolving, what I've seen in common is your commitment towards that specific field. So I know for a fact today also, if you pick up psychology, or you would be so good into that specific field, or there's a possibility that while completing your finance major, there's a possibility that you can minor into psychology because you really enjoy that topic,
Yeah.
right? And that's precisely one of those points that it's not just purely what marks or numbers you achieve in your grades, but how much you enjoy that specific subject or that class, and how do you explore that subject in multiple ways. Because I clearly remember the conversations with you where you explored courses on Coursera, negotiations courses on Coursera on psychology, and that's where you were like, being a lawyer almost makes sense. That's such an exciting field. Interesting. What would you advise parents?
Parents, I would honestly just tell them that let your child figure out what they want to do on their own. I mean, if you, like, I know people who were pressurized into doing something they didn't want, and the thing is, if you do that, then if the child is not actually passionate about what they want to do, they won't do well. So I'd say just take a back seat and just let them make their own mistakes and let them figure it out on their own. Because if they don't do that, I I don't know how it's going to be for them, but for me it would be really cagey and I'd feel trapped. So yeah.
It's a great, yeah, it's a great way to look at it. So let the kids figure it out for themselves, because at the end of the day, they are going to be all by themselves when they move to states or say any other country, right? So the way you are fighting your own struggles, you are figuring those things out all by yourself. So at the end of the day, that's precisely what's going to happen. It would just be a precursor if they are able to do that for themselves in the high school only, and it is their bonus. Right? Okay, Thaira, please elaborate on how the journey was non-academically. How was the culture, or how interesting, or probably how different were you accepted at Amherst?
Okay, so I went to a college that has tons of people from India. Like when I say tons, I mean tons. Like there were 300 people in my batch itself. So,
Wow.
for me, like as soon as I landed, before I left actually, I was really stressing that I'm going to be so homesick. I don't know if I'll be able to adjust. I don't know if I'll fit in. Because took a leap and I decided to go to a college where I didn't know a single person. So I was like I had acceptances from colleges where my best friends were going, and I did consider those.
From
But
UCs,
then,
couple of you had couple of UCs, right?
yeah, I had UCs, I had Bath in the UK. So um like I had every opportunity to go with them, but then I decided to go to UMass because it was good for my career, one, and also because I didn't really know anybody, because I wanted to kind of figure out who I am outside of who I was. Yeah, like I sometimes feel that if you know someone who's known you for like a long time, and then you go to college with them, you don't really get the room to change who you are and become the better version of yourself. So, I was really scared originally, and I would like, sit and cry alone at night sometimes. I'd be like, what if I can't do it? But, the second I went to campus, I reached. Like, there was this smile on my face. I was just so excited. And I mentally prepared myself for what all I was going to face. I thought of the worst case scenarios कि मेरे साथ ये हो जाएगा. So, I was prepared for the worst. I was also prepared for the cold. Actually, I was like, oh my god, it's going to go down to minus
I see.
35, and it
Yeah.
didn't even get close to that. So I was mentally prepared for the absolute worst. But I got there, and I found my little group of friends, expanded that group, and you know I personally didn't get homesick because I just felt so much at home. Like, I think once you find that specific group of people who you can actually call family, it just makes life so much easier for you, because your friends there are your family technically, right? Because your parents and everyone are not necessarily going to be in the same place. They're not going to be in the same country either. So, you have to you rely on your friends, and they rely on you, and you just become a family. So they really helped me with the entire process of, like, making friends, adjusting, doing things, learning to do things on my own. Like, I remember I used to, like, first week of college, I was doing my laundry for the first time. My mom's in India. I'm FaceTiming her. I'm like, "Kaun sa button dabana hai? How much do I put?" All of that. So it's it's challenging, yes, but you also learn so much. You're also kind of forced to mature. You don't have an option. You can't, like being back in Delhi, I would never do a single thing. I'd be like, ha, mama hai, she'll do everything. She'll help me out with this. But then, going to the US just made me accountable to myself, and I had to become independent. I had to figure my own way out. It obviously it takes time to figure out how to do things in a completely different country, in a different culture, and but you get the hang of it eventually. So like I went and I saw that, how much, for example, Halloween, we don't it's not a huge thing back in India, but it's a huge thing in the US. The culture is completely different. Like, as much as you're worried about what society says in India, no one cares in the US. No one cares what you're doing. Everyone's just doing their own thing. So there's a huge difference. You do feel lonely at times, but you just have to kind of power yourself through that and push your way through that, and I think you'll be fine. So yeah.
One specific word which I am taking away from this entire conversation is accountability. You are accountable for yourself, and that's That's the major takeaway. Bottom line is, you are eventually going to mature. You are eventually going to evolve into better roles, for better roles. But being accountable for every single thing, say being accountable for that finance, the investment that's happening in your education. I'm
Yeah.
calling it investment, right? Being accountable for the time investment also. It's not just the finance or the money. It's your 4 years or three and a half, 4 years which you are investing in this specific journey. And most importantly, being accountable for this opportunity, because when you have this opportunity, there are so many others who don't end up having this opportunity. And the way you capitalize on that, that's what's take, that's what's a huge difference. Because I remember the Kyra who just waited for her breaks to probably step out of Delhi or rather uh, go on a vacation. And this is the time when she has a vacation and she's investing her time in Ernst and Young, and she's making sure that she has her internships. Plus, on top of that, she's taking her summer classes while making sure that all her 2 months, 2 months, 2.5, 3 months time is utilized in the best possible manner. Right? So there is significant amount of evaluation that I see every day. It's only been a year.
Yeah. I mean, when you go there, you actually realize the sacrifices your parents are making, honestly, to send you. Because it's obviously not cheap. It's so expensive. And, if you have been given that opportunity to go outside the country and make something of yourself, I think you need to grab it by both hands. And, I was so relaxed. I was so like, dekha jayega, jo hoega, so hoega types. And now I just see myself like, I would honestly sit up and I'd worry all night and I'd be like, what if I don't get a job in the US? What if I'm, at the end of graduation, I don't get a job? What if, I screw up? What if something happens? But, now I just find myself trying to use every opportunity I get just to like, build up my resume, look better for, recruiters, and just try to also increase my skill level. Like I want to be able to handle what they throw at me. I don't like in a job, in an internship, for example. I like, the only reason I'm doing these forage experiences also is because I want to be able to see what I'm going to be doing when I'm actually, interning somewhere or have a job somewhere. So I'm just trying to use every single opportunity I can get to better myself.
You are definitely grabbing all the opportunities from with both your hands, son. We are really looking forward, and all our best wishes will always be there with you. Kaya, we are towards the end of our podcast, right? So, first things first, we would like to understand what are your future plans? What are your plans going forward?
So, my plan is that I'm going to graduate in 3 years. Side by side, at the start of my junior year, I'm going to be attempting my CFA exam, and I'm going to, increase my skill set throughout. After I graduate, I would like to be working at one of the investment banking giants in the US itself, and obviously, side by side, complete my CFA and give myself the best boost I can in the career in my career.
That's quite interesting. You have your plate full.
I really do. I've, sat down and mapped out my entire future and I've been like, this is what I have to do. I have to achieve this no matter what. So, I'm just thankful for my parents, honestly, to send me and be able to, give me the freedom as well to make my own choices and plan out my career the way I want it.
That's awesome. And specifically, last time when we spoke, we we spoke about the way you are planning your calendar. I was so impressed by the fact that you meticulously organize things in a very structured approach. Right? It's so nice to see you evolve, Kyra. That's a that's a great transition.
Thank you, sir. It's just going to the US has made me so independent. I'm like, अब तो करना है. अब तो सब कुछ अपने आप करना है. So,
Awesome, awesome.
yeah.
Great, Kyra. We wish you all the best for all your future endeavors going forward. Should you need any assistance, we obviously be there. We are just a text away. Irrespective you
So,
need anything. Um, wish you all the best, Kyra. And
thank you
thank you so
so
much for your
much.
time.
Thank you so much for having me, sir. It was great talking to you.
Lovely. Yeah. Please take care. See ya.
You too.
Bye.